What is up, all you gamers? Welcome back to the weekly esports podcast, the Esports Rewind. My name is Jake. This is my boy Hunter. And are you ready to break down some crazy news?
Yeah, for sure.
As per usual, though, firstly, most importantly, we like to read comments. We actually almost broke a record with our last one with how many of y'all commented. My boy Invo said, "My boy is ripped," and I have to assume he referred to me. So thank you, Invo. I do push-ups before every episode.
I have two options. I'm going to go with the second one here just to bring you down a level. Inti Arc saying, "Jakey skinny as a rake." Just to take the opposite approach.
Frick, man. Well, whatever you guys think, make sure to leave a comment down below. We hope you all enjoy. Let's break down some of the top stories. Here we go. Something, of course, I got to talk about, probably one of the bigger stories this past week because it was tied to FaZe Clan and now has been supposedly cleared of involvement in this despite having several members being involved and a former manager. Yes, we're talking about SaveTheKids, what will probably be the final chapter unless we have a Tico response or any of their members responding, or if FaZe Clan make a comment about those suspended members versus someone like Kay, who was kicked from the organization alongside a former FaZe Clan senior talent manager, that being Jordan Galen. Why him and Kay were removed is because now brought to us by CoffeeZilla in a final chapter of the investigation, it seemed very clear that both former FaZe Kay and this former FaZe manager alongside Sam Pepper were all behind the idea. What a surprise. And what he goes on to say is Kay was the mind of the whole thing. The whole operation was his idea.
I think if I'm someone else involved, or even if I'm FaZe, I'm not making any sort of announcement or touching this in any capacity, because at this point it's blowing over already, right?
Yep.
Like, people don't care about it already. That's both the benefit and the downfall of the space that we're in. Is give it a couple weeks. If you don't address it, it'll go away. And so I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I think I feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
It's like the scam of the summer. It's like one of the bigger pieces we've seen on YouTube or online, or especially in the gaming scene in the past many months. But as we've talked about before, you sit back, you relax, you make that one statement, and you let it blow over. Now, we were promised by Tico a video that I don't believe ever came out when he said goodbye.
Happens a lot lately.
Yeah,
these videos that are promised that then people are like, no, don't make that video.
Which I think we would have loved to see the information, but that was stopped for some reason, which does make you wonder, what was included in that video and what was maybe he told maybe not to upload, or was it his own personal choice? We don't know. Now, the big thing as well with FaZe Clan is you've suspended a few members and you removed one, rightfully so. What do you do with those remaining suspended members who were involved, but as according to the people covering the situation, not maliciously?
I feel like you either obviously have to just get rid of them, just wipe your board clean, or say, hey, I think we punished them enough. They can stay here. They're fine. This was their involvement. The punishment matches the involvement. These people were really pulling the strings. They were just participating, which is bad, but not quite so bad. I think my bigger question overall, how many more strikes does FaZe get? How many more scams can people in FaZe participate in before people are like, okay, maybe it's more of like an org thing. Maybe there's more going on here behind the scenes.
I think a lot of it has been oversight, especially with their creator side. It sucks because they have so many good streamers and esports talent that are never involved in these kind of things. And then you hear from the creator side all of these things that have little hands in. Now, FaZe Clan has also mentioned they're open to investigation, but overall it does make sense. You have a manager that was pretty, albeit corrupted. He was working directly with Kay, and Kay had the idea, so they saw a good chunk of change in it for themselves. And unfortunately so, when you have this totally scam idea, you implicate your own FaZe Clan members who may not even be let back into the organization because of you. I think a lot of people in the public seem to say, like, Tico, bring him back in. I think when it comes to someone like Jarvis, it's very interesting because you are the brother, always have been the brother, but I mean, this is a guy that is being drugged left and right for being involved in one of the biggest scandals we've seen in quite some time, probably throughout this year. Do you want to go back to the same organization that also housed your brother and then spit him out into the wind? Again, rightfully so. That's got to be a really, really, for the rest of his time, if he does decide to stay in FaZe Clan, I imagine Jarvis is going to get the blunt end of being tied to Kay.
Well, then the question that goes further is, if they did leave FaZe Clan, or even someone like Kay, who obviously is not a part of FaZe Clan anymore, does someone else pick them up? They're still going to draw views, obviously. Imagine Jarvis leaves FaZe. You get the brothers, Kay and Jarvis, at some
nobody's
org.
signing Kay right now, bro.
You don't know. Who knows what orgs just want views? If he gets millions of views, what org?
There's no one that
You don't
dumb.
think so?
I think if there's a bad boy organization, it's FaZe. Like, they would have signed him.
Yeah.
And so if FaZe is not going to touch him, I just don't think that anyone else is going to give it, especially anytime soon. But Jarvis, yeah, I mean, you have to imagine he would have offers elsewhere. I have to imagine FaZe would probably want to keep him, but I don't know what that does behind the scenes and how awkward that might be, or all the things ongoing. So either way, it seems that FaZe Clan has been cleared for the time being from the Save the Kids scandal. They still have several members suspended, and a couple have been removed completely. What do y'all think is going to happen in the future?
Speaking of scandals in the space, probably one of the hardest ones I've had to cover, at least. You've been here a little while longer, so you've covered some hard stuff. But Activision Blizzard has been all over our channel this week because of the many different things going on. I mean, we had the original allegations, right? We have sexual allegations of harassment and discrimination. Then we have the workers deciding to go on strike, sign a letter, say, hey, we want these changes. The CEO responds, doesn't really make those changes, hires a law firm that has connections to Activision Blizzard, calls their response tone deaf, and then we see streamers starting to boycott, stuff like that. And the situation just gets worse and worse. The Cosby suite, I mean, it starts to blow my mind after a little while.
Yeah, you just like kind of spit in every single direction. And I feel like if people have been watching the videos either on our channel or others, keeping up with it's been pretty hectic. You have the original accusations, which in its own, I mean, when California is coming after you, an entire state's coming after you with an over 2-year investigation, you have ultimately someone even taking their own life, which is connected to this case on a company outing. This is obviously a very, very serious situation, and that was only the beginning of it, right? You have the walkout that follows, you have the responses, you have the leaked emails, which obviously after all of this, those emails were not going to stay private, and you see the nature of what it may be. People are not exactly appreciative of the executive level, the higher levels, and how they've come across this process. And to even go down to the very, very nitty-gritty of having streamers boycott the Activision Blizzard games has been very cool to see, I would say, and I do support that kind of stuff. It's just it's tough not to look at this and not think of Riot Games previously and have all these accusations and think about overall, it kind of just sucks. I mean, it really just sucks to know that this is the gaming world becoming, and this is a company that played a huge part in that, and it seems pretty rotten internally.
We're going to keep it pretty general because I think specifics are hard to nail down when there was so much to it. So shameless plug, go watch our other videos if you haven't caught up on all of it. But like you're saying, it is difficult to see these sort of things unfolding. I would say you and I probably come from a little bit more privilege in the gaming space because we're dudes, you know? And so we don't have to face that same harassment that all these women in the gaming space are facing. And then you hear about it and you're like, how is that actually going on? It blows my mind sometimes because I don't want to believe it. I don't want to believe that awful things like that are happening. But of course, you want to support the situation and speak up and stand up for them as well.
It's like, I mean, you read some of these excerpts and you're just like, I can't imagine a company that big hiring new female employees and making them do a cube crawl through obstacles around the office on their hands and knees and then engaging in inappropriate sexual behavior with them. It's just like, it's stuff you can't imagine going on in an office space that it supposedly is. It's being alleged, obviously, and of course Activision Blizzard is going to fight back on this. It's just, I don't know, it just rings all too familiar with the Riot Games stuff last year, and it's a very difficult thing to talk about with a lot of different opinions out there. So we'll see what does come out even further. It's obviously not done yet, and it will be one of the bigger things we also see throughout this year. So the future of Activision Blizzard, what will it be? We've also, even on top of that, had several teams take note of this as well, participating in both of their franchise leagues for Overwatch or Call of Duty. So a lot happening. We'll see what happens next.
To lighten the mood up just a little bit, we're going to switch paces and talk about xQc here. xQc caught a DMCA ban live while he was streaming for streaming some highlights of the Olympics. And I think he might have speedrun one of the fastest unbans of all time.
Yeah, just after, just shy of 5 hours. It's funny when you become one of the bigger Twitch streamers, what you can get away with. I'm not saying he deserved a lengthier ban, all right? But it is funny to see xQc freaking out about some things. A different ban or subjective ban system on Twitter, and then within 24 hours he was faced with a ban and maybe given some subjective behavior towards him.
The irony of that is definitely strong. You cannot deny the favoritism in Twitch bans at this point. There's no way anyone can argue against it. The biggest streamers on the platform will always have a benefit. We saw people like Amaranth and Indy Fox, obviously, a couple months ago who were getting away with a lot. Indy did not end up getting away with it in the long run, but definitely favoritism there. If you are making Twitch a lot of money, they're going to help you out a little bit. And so xQc, a good comparison, is the FIFA guy, Run the Foot Market, who got banned for the same thing. I think he's still banned.
Is he really?
Yeah. People were tagging him in the post of like, hey, man.
Well, because he definitely was not unbanned after 5 hours. That's
right.
for sure.
And so something as quick as xQc, just getting that quick turnaround when other streamers have been banned for the same thing, it must be frustrating to see, I would imagine.
And obviously it's really, really hard, I imagine, to go over, you got tens of thousands of streamers from such a wide variety. Some get 3 viewers, some get 30,000, some like xQc average, 60, 70,000 concurrent playing whatever game he wants. So obviously, naturally, as a company, you're going to tiptoe your way towards the top. But it just happens so frequently. And it's also the people that complain about it happening to other people, and then it happens to them because they can't control it. So xQc might complain about this happening to Pokimane. Maybe she gets better treatment than he does, but then it happens to him, but he doesn't have a say on what Twitch does. He probably was okay with being banned for a day or 3 days. The guy probably needs a vacation, and if it comes via a ban, he probably enjoys that. He's literally gotten himself banned on purpose before in the past.
Right.
So it's crazy that you have streamers that complain about preferential treatment that inadvertently get it themselves. Alinity's another example. She was like, please ban me, or I'm going to not stream for 3 days. I deserve a ban, and Twitch still wouldn't do it.
You bring up a really good point that's actually really interesting to me. That is that I don't think most of these streamers know what sort of treatment they're going to get. Even the ones at the top, we've seen people like Asmon talk about it, Tyler One talk about it, of, man, I'm tippy-toeing around. I'm playing this crappy playlist over and over and over again because I don't want to get DMCA striked, because who knows, if I get banned, it might be a perma-ban because I don't know how Twitch is going to treat me, which must be pretty scary for some streamers. But playing devil's advocate here, once again, I think it kind of makes sense for Twitch. You can't treat someone with 70,000 viewers the same way as every person with 3 or 5 viewers. So, of course, they're going to be at more risk at the top. xQc is going to get noticed by the Olympics quicker. So, yeah, they're going to pay attention to his ban quicker as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying I could do it better. It's really easy to critique it outside looking in. Yeah. Everyone knows that Twitch bans have been... I've just seen so many things where it's like if you get banned and you don't think it's the right reason and you actually have a voice and you start speaking up, then Twitch all of a sudden backpedals and is like, all right, yeah, you're right. But if you don't have a voice, that's where it sucks. If you are a Twitch streamer and you have no voice, that's where it has to be so frustrating and sucks so much to see the other treatment other people are getting and to know that you have to grind to that level to even maybe get the same experience or treatment they do, which is really crazy to think about.
It's kind of daunting, I'd imagine, for a lot of them, or just scary in general for people who hope to base their careers on Twitch and then they see preferential treatment of like, man, I got to get to 70,000 viewers before I don't have to be scared anymore. What do I do?
And there's 100%. There are Twitch streamers out there right now that have been permanently banned from 3 DMCA strikes while other streamers are still just playing.
And no comms. No one ever told them anything about it.
Yeah.
Just banned. Couldn't talk to anyone.
And they're going to watch their favorite streamer and have music in the background like, wait, I got banned for that song. Like,
right.
What's going on here? It just sucks. It's expected, but it sucks. But Twitch banned xQc in a speed run for just shy of 5 hours to be unbanned shortly after. Now, I got a weird one out there because I don't get to talk about CSGO enough. It's just, there's not a YouTube audience right now for CSGO, and it makes me so freaking sad. There's no drama because there's no goddamn LANs, and everyone's watching Valorant. So I'm just stuck here reading. Okay, see what
you're talking about CSGO? What's up?
It makes me so angry. Okay, now speaking of the devil, when it comes time for a really weird thing in the CSGO scene, I don't think anyone else is doing in CSGO, maybe in esports, is hiring talent on a consistent basis this young. NAVI, not as Vincier, widely regarded for CSGO and especially for Simple inside the Counter-Strike space. And they've been doing this for a few years now. I actually covered the first one. I believe this is actually over 2 years ago now when they first signed Munzie to the academy or the junior roster for NAVI. At the time, I believe he was 14 years old. And then I believe it was shortly thereafter they signed another one. This time he was 13 years old, ironically named Demon, which is a sick name. You can imagine a little CIS kid, Demon. I'm Demon, and he's probably freaking nuts in game. You got to imagine if you're being recruited by Navi at this point, you got to be a literal demon. So then, just recently, they signed another one. I believe his name is FaZe King. It's spelled weird, so I'm just gonna call him FaZe King.
Little Froz.
Little Froz. Literally coming off the playground to sign to NAVI, one of the most regarded Counter-Strike brands ever. He's also 13 years old. And I could be missing a couple as well, but it's just crazy for me to see because you can imagine, we love talking about Team Liquid, Cloud9, TSM, 100 Thieves. If they were signing kids right out of freaking middle school, dude, like why is no one else talking about this? It's wild to me.
I'm going to be honest, when you first started the story and you were leading with, we haven't seen anyone else like in the CSGO space really doing this. I thought you were going to say leaking strat books at first, but that's not where this is going.
Another thing I couldn't get to cover, dude. Next time.
But it is, I think I am a fan of this kind of strategy of like, man, we can't afford the people we need necessarily to do great right now. So we're going to invest in younger talent. I like that strategy personally because it builds up future generations. And also, if you're looking at the bigger picture of CSGO, probably the biggest problem CS has is all the younger audience is going to Valorant right now. All the younger players are in Valorant. And so why not recruit some younger players who are actually interested, probably a few demons in there in the game, and build them up to be legends in 4 or 5 years?
This could definitely go both ways. I would love to, obviously we can't have the details. I would love to know the contract details. When you're signing a 13, 14-year-old kid, is it $5,000? Is it $10,000 a year? And okay, man, you stick with us for a few years. If you want to leave, you can. Or are you trapped for those 3 years? Or is the idea here to keep them, and by the time Simple retires, you got a young Munzie or Demon who's all of a sudden a full-grown adult who's just been training with Navi his entire life?
I was going to say, to be fair, they're not even talking to the kid like, oh, we'll give you $10,000. They're like, hey, Dad, we'll give you $10,000. Your kid's going to play for a little while.
Can you tell him what he's going to be doing?
Right, which is just a strange thought process. I remember our Hiko video earlier in the week in his little rant about CSGO versus Valorant. He said when he was younger, I think he was talking about when he was 16, he said 7 months out of the year I was traveling to different boot camps, to tournaments, stuff like that. And so imagine being a 13-year-old. That is 8th grade.
Yeah.
Being a 13-year-old and potentially traveling 7 months out of the year.
I was still stuck in 5th grade at that point. Repeating grades.
I couldn't get past it. It'd just be it boggles me. I would go home to play RuneScape for hours. I wasn't grinding CSGO,
But to a degree, I see where they're coming from. If they see esports gaming, clearly Counter-Strike as the future, you look at all the basketball kids around the world. That's the age you're going to start, if not earlier, going to basketball camps, going to summer camps, going to travel schools, whatever they're called, right? Those, crazy selects. And you're going to be gone most of the time. You will do school here, and then you'll play basketball or whatever sport it is, and they start them that young. And so it does make sense, and I like that we're going there, as long as it doesn't ride that hairy line of, is this okay? There's definitely we've seen so many pros and players taken advantage of when it comes time for contracts. Right. But I like the idea, and I would love to see. I would imagine that other teams are looking at this, like 100 Thieves or Liquid or Cloud9, because they have the bankroll to be like, all right, if we truly think that either a streamer or a pro is the future, why not lightly invest at 13? It's legal. 13 is the age to stream and to go into a lot of this stuff, and then 16 obviously for a lot more things.
I was gonna say there's definitely a lot of restrictions in leagues that I feel like could get in the way of certain games. We saw Sniper Wolf or General Sniper who got picked up and immediately got dropped because of his age. Yeah. And so I imagine some orgs would have to tiptoe around that. But like you said, comparing to mainstream sports, looking at football, basketball, people get scouted in high school already. So they're, like you said, in training camps, in middle school, in high school. Colleges are looking at these quarterbacks.
That was me, man, my whole life.
Just scouting the whole time. That's Jake Lucky. We're going to get him as soon as he's a senior. And so it makes sense. I recently saw an interview with, I think, a basketball player who took the opposite approach. He said, if you want to win right now, you'll draft me. But if you want to win in 8 years, don't draft me. And these orgs flip-flopped it and said, we don't want to win right now. We want to win in 8 years. Let's get these kids.
Again, I can't wait to see how this all develops, how it unfolds. Navi certainly trying something new in the Counter-Strike space. What do y'all think about it? Dr. Disrespect is back at it again this past week. He keeps on teasing things. I hope he follows through with some of these things. You know, I really got to see it. We love breaking the doc news around here, but a lot of it's been teases, a lot of NDAs, a lot of meetings here and there. And this one that you covered, particularly a little special, huh? Netflix has announced their entrance into gaming as well recently, and now it's Doc saying, hey, could be joining the Netflix team, although we don't know what Netflix is going to be doing exactly.
I'm hearing a lot about Netflix. Called it long time ago. And you know what? I mean, I'd be open. I mean, they're talking about thinking about ways to give back and grow their, like, I mean, you're talking to the two-time. Hey, Netflix. Hey, Netflix. Netflix. Hey, Netflix. You want to have a nice, serious phone call? Let's have a nice, serious phone call. I like the platform. I like the potential of Netflix. I mean, you put me on the board. We sit down in suit and ties if we need to in a big-ass conference room on the 40th floor in Los Gatos. Actually, where'd Netflix move to? Oh, sorry, I'm still holding my trophies. I'll be right back, Netflix.
Doc, like you said, just a dirty little teaser, just constantly teasing us along on the
like when you
timeline. I say it often, so. But yeah, I don't know. He had a couple stances on it at first, talking about, yeah, we've been in talks, and or just being interested in being in talks and saying, imagine switching over to Netflix from YouTube, having a streamer on there, which the more you think about it, the more it's like that probably couldn't ever work out.
Doesn't make sense.
Because you can't, how do you sub to a specific channel if you're subscribing just to Netflix? And so how much does each streamer get a cut of it? They probably just had to pay them a deal, and they wouldn't get anything out of it. And so it probably wouldn't make a lot of sense for streamers, or maybe it would because they'd go more mainstream. Imagine being on Netflix, like, I'm all out of shows. Let's go to the live stream section and, you know, browse through a few streamers.
Yeah, to that degree, it does make sense. I don't know how the deals make sense. I don't know if the viewership's going to be there. Obviously, as a streamer, you take that risk.
Right.
And if Netflix is offering bags, and that actually is their idea, but we think the idea is generally that you can just have a different place to go to play games. So load into games on your Netflix platform with your subscription. So it just becomes another subscription-based thing that where now you have access to movies and to video games, which is cool. Similar ideas have not done so well.
Right.
And I think I'm more interested on the other aspect of could we see something along the lines of live streamers. You're done watching your favorite movie, you go and switch over to a stream.
I imagine it could be beneficial for certain games because Netflix is so widespread in everyone's household, and so you get your game on Netflix Gaming and people see it more. Kids are bound to find it on that.
A lot of party games with family, that like I can see that stuff working.
Right, and so that I think makes sense, but like Doc said, he mentioned probably not a lot of streamers on the platform in any capacity. What Netflix is likely interested in content-wise would be much bigger, maybe like he mentioned Vin as a TV show, more production value stuff, or he talks about wanting his own character animation, stuff like that. So we'll just have to see what happens.
And I think Netflix has already been making the move now for several years to more gaming content in terms of documentaries, not necessarily movies. We haven't seen too much of crossover besides I think Ninja and Pokimane apparently have made their way into movies and features.
Maybe some news shows that could be on Netflix.
Maybe some like maybe just some recorded like news shows to break the news to
like
you.
a guy in a tank top and
like a ripped guy in a cutoff, and maybe a not so ripped guy.
No,
in a hoodie.
a still ripped guy in a hoodie.
You don't know how ripped he is though, because he doesn't
questionable.
show it off.
We don't know.
But we don't know the future of Netflix X gaming. But I know it's going to be exciting to see what it is. Will it work out? It's a different question. But exciting nonetheless to hear people like Doc talk about it. What do y'all think Netflix and gaming has in store? Yeah, as per usual, we hope you guys all enjoy the Esports Rewind podcast, your weekly gaming podcast where we talk about game, esports, game stream stuff. Yes, Hunter, you want to say good? Oh, he actually can't stop drinking water and coffee. It's now in his contract. We'll see you guys back here next week. Until then, take care. Okay, bye.